Alright guys, for this video I'm just going to be telling you about my production slash SSP Glock pistol that I have here. This is the G34. Pretty much going to rule your SSP. Really, if you're just shooting for USPSA and you want to shoot production or even limited, buy the G35. You're going to want that 40 caliber to really be able to make the most out of everything that as far as how the rules are set up for USPSA. And I do plan on, this is going to become just a SSP gun, so I don't want to do anything that's going to make it, you know, more legal for production and less for SSP. So that's one thing to keep in mind. You can shoot both categories though. One of the first things you're going to want to do, go down to Lowe's. You can buy this. This is actually just that tape that they use for staircases to keep, you know, get more traction on them. It's just kind of a, I guess, a legal thing. I don't really see how it could help in the ice, but you have that. It's going to help you get a little bit of a better grip. You're not going to be just stipple the areas that are factory stippled. You could, I mean, if somebody called me out at an IDPA match for my finger grooves here, the way that I have them stippled, really, I mean, I can just peel them off. It's not a big deal. It's not like one of the Talon grips where I paid 20 bucks and I'm not going to mess up my $20 grip. After that, the main upgrade you're going to do is sights. These are Vogel dynamic sights. Sorry about kicking the camera there. As you can see, they're, you know, you get the wide notch in the rear, small. This is a 125 up front as far as width, 125 thousandths. Get those installed. I installed them without buying the Glock pusher tool. You just want to buy the wrench to fit your front sight for that little nut. And I actually used a 2x4. I used the corner of it to drive out my old sight. And then I got this started and hit it back on there with 2x4. Really, I got it right the first shot. I guess those results are not to be expected, but that's just how I did it because I wanted to shoot with them that night. That would be my second upgrade. Those run about 80 bucks on Amazon. I'm gonna go ahead and drop the hammer. And as far as for SSP and everything, production, I have the Zev stainless steel guide rod. I do run it captured. You can run it uncaptured. You don't have to have that screw. So if you don't Loctite it in and it comes out and you lose it, don't freak out because it is still a useful piece. Your gun's not going to quit working. You can run it without that little screw in there. It's really just kind of a pain anyways. Other than that, I do have a, what's that guy's name? Charlie Zanuck, Zanuck Customs. He's a local guy here, and the other day I just went over and picked up one of his triggers. I will say this is the best trigger that I've found for the Glocks. So you can see all you got in there. Got the polished safety there. And then I do have a Jaeger lightened guide rod. It's not going to be, it's going to help with the trigger pull. It's going to help with light primer strikes. There's a lot of reasons to upgrade that. I was pretty hesitant to do it because I wanted to keep this thing as stock as possible, but I just went ahead and spent the money, and that's what I went with. You're not going to be disappointed if you go with the Charlie Zanuck trigger. It's really your, and I actually had the privilege of being local to him, so I just went over to his house yesterday after a match that I shot. I called him up on Friday. He didn't get back with me until Saturday while I was in the middle of the match, and said, come on over. You can see I got the full, I think it's the classic, the Zanuck Classic kit. It's $145 without the Jaeger Striker. I think it's $230 with the Jaeger Striker. But it's a worthwhile trigger upgrade for sure. The reset is really short. You see, you're still going to have a lot of take up here as far as, but it's very smooth. And I know it didn't look very smooth there, but you do your reset. It's very minimal to the reset, and then you have a clean break. So once that first shot's out of the way, it's going to be a fantastic trigger. And me and him we had like a 2-hour-long conversation about Glock triggers and everything. He can do a lot better job than that. If you buy some of his call him up, he can still do some custom trigger work and make you. I felt some of his triggers that he had there, and they're dang near 1911 triggers, if not better. I was super impressed with his personal limited gun. I really wanted to make him an offer to buy it, but I could tell that that wasn't ever going to go anywhere. But that's pretty much my G34 setup. The only other thing you want to do is buy one of those $5 grip plugs. That's the gist of it. SSP and production do not allow for a lot of upgrades, which is a good thing and a bad thing. So the upgrades I've spent $230 on a trigger. I could have spent $230 on a trigger elsewhere and got a nicer trigger, but that would have put me in the limited category, and it's just not where I want to be right now. I really want to make master at least in production before I even think about moving on. And honestly, I might just stay in that category. There's really I have everything for production. I really don't want to go to limited. I would like to, but that's just really not on the table right now for me. Feel free to drop in the comments some mods you think I may be missing. I'm happy with that gun. That gun, it's exceptionally good shooter for me. The Glock, I do think still dominates, your IDPA and USPSA. One thing, I'm really impressed with some of the other pistols out there, but for me, it's like, why switch whenever I already have all my Glock mags? I got everything set up. It's just not. It wouldn't be beneficial at all for me to switch to another brand. Not saying that Glock's the only way, but that's my setup for working well in both classes. I don't think there would be much advantage for me to buy a second pistol and have one set up just for IDPA and then have another one just for USPSA. I don't think it's going to make that big of a difference. I think it would actually hinder me, because I wouldn't be. It's easier to master one weapon than it is to master two. And whenever you're changing stuff like that, you're changing the functionality of the pistol. So I would set it up like that, just stainless steel guide rod. I am running the 13-pound ISMI spring. Really, I'm probably going to change that over to the 14-inch or the 14-pound Wolf. That's what Sinkvetti was using whenever he won the Worlds. They tend to be a little bit smoother. I've played around with them a little bit now, so I know the Wolf with the round spring is going to be a little bit smoother. The flat spring on the ISMI, I know there's probably some science behind it, and a lot of guys say that one's better, but I really it doesn't feel as smooth whenever I'm operating the slide. Maybe it's just a head thing for me. So you got your recoil spring, get some good sights on there. I'm using Vogel Dynamics. I love them. Vanek classic trigger kit with a Jaeger striker, grip plug, some tape on the grips. You're good to go. You got basically the best setup that you can have for production or SSP. All right, stay tuned. If you guys have any questions about my setup that I run for IDPA or USPSA, please feel to drop in the comment section. I'll be happy to cover any kind of questions you guys have, and we'll go from there.